Hi, I'm Christopher Sparts, inventor of Swish, with four-time NBA champion, 3 times with the Chicago Bulls and 1 with the San Antonio Spurs. Will Perdue, it's great to have you.
It's good to be here, man. I'm excited to test out the product for the first time.
I know. It's been a long time coming, but you know, the game's changed, Will, and I want to talk a little bit about the game of basketball. You're a 4-time NBA champion.
Will Perdue for the tie. Here goes Pitt. He makes it though. Couple of clutch.
And you did it in a different era. The game has changed now. Tell me how the game has changed.
Well, I think it's become a lot more offensive-minded as far as the way they've changed the rules to make it a much more dynamic game. It's a little quicker game, and it emphasizes scoring more. And they've taken away some of the rules from the defense as far as how they've allowed them to play defense. So that's why developing the proper shot is something that is vital in order to get yourself through high school, college, and hopefully for a lot of guys to the NBA.
So 1 through 5, point guard through big man, everybody's got to be able to shoot now.
Well, they do. It's now labeled as the positionless NBA, right? Your 5-man can shoot threes, your 4-man can stretch out the defense. So, you know, again, scoring is at a premium. Defense is still important, but as you've watched the scores of games get higher and higher, you know, it used to be when I played first team to 101. If you don't score 100 points now, you've had a bad night.
Isn't that wild?
It's just, but I think it's helped make the game more enjoyable. And when I use the term average fan, I mean the fan that, you know, has a tendency to watch both college and the NBA and has a tendency to lean more towards the NBA once college is done. That's what they're trying to do, is attract that average fan, get more eyeballs watching the game, and aesthetically, higher scoring games are more pleasing for the average fan.
Speaking of the average fan, you talk about the young players and the youth coming up that looks up to those NBA and WNBA players. They're all trying to be like them. How can they be like them quicker, faster? What are some of the things that they can be doing to be able to shoot better and be better earlier on?
Well, I think sometimes, unfortunately, when they see these guys in the NBA, they see the finished product, and they're not really sure how that product is developed. And what that starts with is the fundamentals. And we know now the game of basketball, the three has become such a critical part of the game itself to help spread out the defenses. And it's not just, hey, grab a basketball and start shooting. You have to be able to develop a shot. And there are ways, and that, as we'll learn later, Swish has become a product that can even take and correct a bad shot and make it a better shot to make it more efficient. And I think that's something that is vital to the game. And what's one of the things that coaches always talk about? You know, you have to find ways to be impactful. And sometimes when you're struggling to knock down shots, maybe because of the defense, you got to find ways to get to the free throw line. And then when you get to the free throw line, you got to be able to knock down the free throws. So there are ways through practice, through repetition, but also quality over quantity, that you can work to become more efficient and a better scorer, and you can start piling up the points from the free throw line even when you're technically having a bad night from the floor.
I love it. Now, the game has changed by way of getting better. There's individual skill development coaches. There's a lot more camps and clinics around. What are your thoughts on those?
Well, not every individual coach is necessarily a basketball coach, because some guys try to teach the same technique to everybody. And I think you have to adapt to the individual. And that's where I think your best individual coaches are the ones that take the student, we'll use that word in front of them, and learns how to develop that student to what their strengths and weaknesses are. Because it's just not, you know, a one-trick pony. Everybody has to determine, you know, their path to get to that point. And some people have to work harder, and some people are just more gifted and don't have to work as hard, and they advance quicker. But it's the technique that you actually use and the ability to have that adapt to each individual player.
Now, the 3 most important things for a young player to learn in a shot, what are those things?
I think first of all is the proper position of their hand on the ball. Okay, I know as younger players sometimes, because of their lack of size, they have to shoot with 2 hands, but that's okay, because as they get stronger, you know, their hand position will change. That's number 1. Number 2, I think, is the correct path of the elbow, which will make the shot more precise. I know some people shoot with the elbow out, but then again, I think it's just, I always talk about from that hip pocket, from the holster up, and then at the end of the day, once you've done those two things, then it's the follow through. And that's basically distance controlled to determine whether you're shooting, from 8 feet or from 21 feet, or in this day and age, the 30-foot shot seems to be normal for a lot of people.
It's incredible that you're saying all this stuff because we've developed the product in Swish that covers all 3 of those facets. And this is why I'm excited to share this with you, put this on you, and be able to demonstrate and walk through how simple it is for players to learn it, how simple it is for teachers, coaches, skill development coaches to teach it and execute communicating at a high level, and how simple it is for players to leave their coaches and still get the feedback that they're paying all that time, energy, and effort for.
And I think that's important because one of the things you want to be able to do as a player is have, honestly, as few thoughts as possible in your mind. And if that's something that can help expedite the process, as far as use the Swish in order to get all those 3 facets, how the ball's set, where your elbow is, and the ability to follow through. If you can eliminate some of those variables, that's less things that they have to talk about, which then again makes the game easier.
I love it. I want to get this thing on you. You excited?
Absolutely,
Okay,
because this is, you brought this idea up to me, mentioned it about 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And that's how long this whole process has taken for you to get this done. So I know what I saw initially, and it looked a little old-fashioned, but I think apparently that you've made some great changes to it.
Yeah, it's pretty swaggy.
You definitely put in the work, I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
So I like the packaging so far. Now this is what I think is pretty cool, is the brand. And that's key, because you got to appeal to the younger audience, man.
Now you're going to have 2 sleeves. Right? One is for your right arm. That's the free one.
So this is the one thing I always used to kind of talk about, what exactly does the shooting sleeve do? I remember I think Iverson was the first one that made it popular. Yeah. So I'm glad that I can become hip by wearing a shooting sleeve.
You're swaggy. You're swaggy.
But then this is the part I think that is the most important part of the whole product.
No question. No question. Well, this is the first product you take from training to tip-off that's ever been created in basketball, which we're proud of, right? That one sleeve, that singular sleeve that you can take with you and go play with. And people ask you, hey, why are you making all these shots? You go, Swish. People go, hey, what time is it? You go, Swish.
And real quickly, why do you call it Swish?
Well, every time it goes in.
What does it sound like?
It sounds like a swish. Now, here's the deal. We don't just shoot for makes, man. We shoot for swishes. And you know this well. You know this. It's important, okay? So now I want to put this product on. You ready to rock and roll? All right, so you've got your first sleeve on. This is perfect, okay? This facing out. Just let everybody know what time it is, okay? Here we go. Now, we'll put this puppy on, all right? And this is always going to be on your left side. Righty, lefty, it doesn't matter. It's always going to be on your left side with the swish facing out, all right? And you want this to be just below your tricep. You'll feel this elastic, really strong elastic on the inside, okay, that's intertwined with this, okay? Really, really slick. Now, we're going to put your other arm, okay?
Okay. So I like how this feels.
Yeah. That's your first step. So the fact that you like it is a good start, Will.
All right.
Okay, now we want to make sure that we put your right arm in. And again, just below your tricep, okay, this is right where you want to live. Okay, this is perfect. What is this doing right now? What do you feel?
You're already in the shooting form.
Right.
Remember we talked about as far as the elbow.
Right.
I used to always try to teach almost like your elbow's coming out of a holster, right?
Yep.
The right hip.
Yep.
So that then you can take the ball straight up.
No question.
Again, efficiency as far as less movement.
Yep.
And what you're doing, you're talking about here with the way this thing is built.
Right.
All right. This is elastic.
Yep.
So it's not locked in and rigid.
Right.
All right. It's flexible.
Right.
But at the same time now, what it is doing, I can feel it already, is pulling your elbow in a comfortable position so you know where you should be.
I love that you said that. It allows you to be an athlete. We don't want, basketball players are athletes. They're not rigid, okay? So that you're spot on that. Now, that's step 2. Okay, so you put that puppy on, you can already feel it. Now, I want it to be a little bit tighter on you because, you know, maybe you're not always great with your elbow and we've got to correct something here, Will. So we've got to.
Well, listen, most people think they're better shooters than they really are.
Wow.
So I'll follow your lead.
Okay, well played. So here's what we're gonna do. So we have a double lock here on this, and I wanna bring this puppy in and secure it with both of these locks just to get it a little bit tighter to make sure that that shooting form is really tight, really secure, and you get that feedback every time you shoot it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because as you're talking about, if I try to shoot with my elbow out,
Right.
you can feel the tension.
Right.
And that's what you don't want in your shot.
Right.
All right. And so when you have the tension, because you're talking about, you're getting that instant feedback that you know that you're doing something incorrectly. And then so that's where then you can correct it yourself and make the self-adjustment. And that's the key with this device is that people can use this on their own at home. And that also, again, simplifies the process of this apparatus itself is another set of eyes. Because that's one of the benefits of working with a coach.
Yep.
Is getting another set of eyes on, even at my level when I played in the NBA. And guys now, they have shooting coaches and they have strength coaches and guys that they work out with, because that extra set of eyes can notice something as small that can make a huge difference. So this apparatus at the same time is another set of eyes because you're getting that instant feedback.
Yes. On all accounts. This is really, really special. I love this. I want to try using this now. I want to go through the 3-step process and how to.
So the 3-step process to put it on,
Right.
and then a 3-step process of how to use it.
Amen. Now, it's important to note, we didn't just eyeball this. We brought in science. We brought in engineers, sports science individuals to address the 41% of the shot that this shooting apparatus addresses. 41% of your shot. It's amazing how much more connected your shot is going to be when you have 41% that's controlled. Now, we talk about when we're growing up, it's like riding a bike. Everybody knows that phrase. Why? Because once you ride a bike for the first time, it's like you never forget it. Okay? That's procedural memory. That's not muscle memory. That's procedural memory. That's science, right? It takes 45 minutes on average to learn how to ride a bike. It's no different with your basketball shooting form. Okay, if we could simplify it on the way that you learn it, man, it's amazing. You'll never forget it. You'll never forget it.
Well, as we know, analytics is a buzzword right now, right? So 41%, that's huge. So if we can take this shot and simplify it with the Swish, that's less that you have to think about as an individual as you're learning and working on your shot, which then will give you more time and efficiency to work on your game as a whole.
Let's get it. All right, so let's go over the 3-step process, okay? Your number 1 is where the ball is down here, your arms are in front, okay? They're straight, and your whole body is straight, all right? Now, number 2 is where we load up. We want to make sure that we keep everything in front of your body, okay? And we want to keep that ball just a little bit lower, okay? We want to keep it just a little bit lower. So we lean over with our shoulders, just over our toes, just a touch, okay? This is where we get our strength, right in our core, right? Everything's loaded up, and 3 is straight up and down. Release with those hands. Perfect.
Okay, now one of the things you talked about was, okay, start down, right?
Yes.
And one of the things I like about the strap, technically the strap is to prevent us from getting the elbow out, right? Keep us in that shooting form, starting in that pocket. But I also like how with the strap, it prevents you from swaying with the shot.
Exactly. What's the first thing that happens when your elbow goes back? It goes out.
Right.
It goes out. So we want to eliminate all that negative movement and keep it in front, right? And everything's going straight up and down.
And this is what I like about the Swish is again, it helps simplify the shot. So there's less things that I have to think about as an individual, as a shooter. And this thing gives you the instant feedback that I know. So when I start here, I know I'm in the proper position because then the strap now is against my chest. If I feel it stretching, that means that my elbows and my hands are too far back.
And you almost have to work hard to go against the grain when you do that.
Well, and also what I like is because of the strap,
Right.
it gives you the flexibility to move your hands a little bit, but it provides that resistance to remind you to keep that elbow in. So put the hand in the basket. And that gives you that full follow through. Because right now, I'm only focusing on one thing. I'm not thinking about down here, even though that's step one. This is step two, but this has all become now automatic. Right. All I'm thinking about is the release point.
And really the 1, 2, 3 step is you're already getting to the 2 now. You're eliminating the 1 because you know how to get to the 2. The 1 gets us to the 2. So the process is for first-time users and players that are struggling to get back to square one. When you're struggling with your shot, let's go back to the basics. Let's go back to 1, 2, 3. And now this is a really easy way for coaches, for skill development trainers, for people that are working on players' shots to communicate at a really high level. You're not getting it to 2, right? I need your 3. I need a better release at your 3, right? Hey, let's go back to 1. Let's go back to.
But now, as you were talking about now, I've already eliminated 1 because obviously being an older player, I've developed proper placement of my hands. So as you pass it to me, what do we always talk about? You're always ready, right? Boom, right into it, pick up and shoot. Right into it, pick up and shoot. Right into it. But here's a little tip for point guards. That's why the bounce pass is the most efficient pass, because most players can catch it and go right up into the shot. Whereas if you throw a chest pass, you catch it, go down, and shoot, right? And we're talking about efficiency. So we're here. Yep. Again, you're working on your efficiency, but you know what you're doing right here? You're working on your percentage. Not just from the free throw line, but from the floor. And what happens when you increase your efficiency? You become a better scorer with less effort.
Score more. Will Perdue, I'm Christopher Sparks. This is Swish.